Welcome to the most recent episode of Scale Up Podcast. This is Dan Eisenberg, and the purpose of Scale Up Podcast, of course, is to discuss and understand some of the challenges and some of the opportunities of growing a company. We don't have startups on this podcast. We only have what I call scale-ups. And I'm here, fortunately, with Amiad Soto, the co-founder and the CEO of Guesty, which we're going to understand in just a few minutes. Just in terms of disclosure, I'm an early investor in Guesty and a very happy one, I have to add. Amiad, first of all, who is Amiad Soto, and who's your co-founder?
Awesome. So first of all, thank you for having me, Daniel, and thank you for being an early investor in Guesty. We really appreciate it.
That's my pleasure.
I'm Amiad Soto, co-founder and CEO of Guesty. I've started the company about 11 years ago with my twin brother, Koby Soto. He's no longer part of the company. He actually phased out after about 4 years to being just a board member. And after a couple more, he phased out to start his own thing. Now he's working on his own new startup in New York. As for Guesty is a vertical software market leader in the vertical of short-term rentals. We are an end-to-end software for managing short-term rentals at scale. So helping you with the scale-ups, our companies or customers are not necessarily scale-ups. They are anything from an individual who's starting to do short-term rental, but many of them are growing to become fully property managers, and some of them grow to become real businesses and enterprises as well. Many of our customers started with us with 20 properties and grow to 200 and even more than that to thousands of properties.
So I'm a property manager. I decided that I want to be kind of an entrepreneur. I have a few properties. How does Guesty help me?
Yeah, so let's say you want to put them on short-term rental for the sake of making more money, higher risk, higher reward as well than long-term rentals, of course. People normally on long-term rentals makes X, and in short-term rentals they tend to make more than that, but they added the increasing operational heaviness and also the increase of risk. If something happens, they have less commitment. However, higher risk, higher reward, and Guesty makes it easier to manage the heavy load of operational tasks that those property managers have to deal with. Many of our customers don't own those properties. They manage it on behalf of others because it's much easier to scale. We do have Guesty Lite, which is focused on people who manage their properties. Normally, it's just a lot less properties, but
we'll talk about your offering and your value. But I went on Perplexity, and the first question I asked, by the way, was how many successful ventures have been founded by identical twins? And Perplexity got it wrong. They didn't mention you, and I complained to Perplexity, and Perplexity apologized. But what's that like, founding a company with a twin brother? Obviously,
yeah, I think it's just like any other brother. I think that the relationship is like, I don't think that the fact we are the same age contributed or negatively contributed anything more than any other family relationship. I think families are can either be extremely beneficial or extremely difficult to work with just because of you have much longer relationship than this business. But it's also something that is better because I don't know if you know, but about half of startups who fail are due to founder disputes. And I think that knowing someone for pretty much the entirety of your life helps with understanding that that person much better than someone you just decided to work with. Another thing is that we always said that we report to the same mother. So that's one of the things that really helped, that even if we had the worst arguments, we still showed up to work the next day.
Yeah. And I imagine you have very fundamental alignment of values, even though I'm also having brothers and sisters myself. I know that you can argue a lot, but you still tend to have the same basic values. So let's go back to Guesty. Guesty is, I think, by far the market leader in area, and there's a lot of public information about it. I also went to Perplex.
We are about 3 times bigger than our nearest competitor.
So tell the story of Guesty, a brief story, just by the numbers.
Yeah. So we manage now close to 500,000 properties on our platform. We did 7 acquisitions to date, so we have not just the Guesty family, but other products that we bought and are still managing as part of this family of brands. We also raised the most money, real raised, because some of our competitors did like secondary sales or sold majority stake of their companies, and they consider that amount as raised, but it didn't come. It didn't go to the company. We were the only one who really raised the majority of the funding in our industry, and put that to work. We are the biggest in number of employees, the biggest in number of properties managed, the biggest with offices internationally. We're the only one who is real international in our ecosystem.
Amiad, can you give us some numbers around that? There are numbers floating out there, and if you don't get, I'll tell you what I discovered. But if you could tell us what the revenues come out, raised, numbers of people.
We are above 100 million ARR. We raised at I think the latest valuation based on the media is close to $1 billion valuation. We didn't disclose the exact number. And what else?
Well, the media says that you've raised roughly $400 million to date.
Yeah.
So that, again, you have a huge amount, a huge resource to continue to grow. Let's go back a little bit and talk about, so you've really grown. I mean, from zero in founding in 2013.
Yeah, December 13th. So yeah, we are 11 years going at it.
So the sort of the inflection points, because you've grown like crazy, I think anywhere between 150% to 60% a year, more or less.
Yeah, I think in the last 4 years, for example, we 7x the company. So we it's like a hockey stick, but there is some years are harder than others. The COVID year was a year of stagnation for us. 2023 wasn't the best year because of higher interest rates, and interest rates are very much correlated with properties investments, and therefore our customers, it's not like we suffered, but our customers suffered from it, and that's why they didn't expand as much, right? So if one of the things that are working really good in vertical software is that many of your customers grow with you, and then they tend to become your net dollar retention expansion. And basically in 2023, that didn't really happen. 24 is recovery. And in 25, we're already seeing significant improvement in that front too. So there's a lot of things that are going well. But over the many years of the company, we've had our fair share of experience with hurdles.
So let's leave COVID aside, because that's kind of a black swan, if you will. But what have been some of the other sort of inflection points or challenging transitions that you've gone through over these 11 years?
Yeah, first of all, the first year we did like 2 pivots. we pivoted from being a property manager ourselves to being an online property manager, and then to a software for property managers. And that really helped us. The second one really helped us scale a lot, because all of a sudden we were not competing with these property managers. We were able to sell them our technology. I think that once we passed like 100 people, we also started pushing the gas pedal on expansion globally, and that was another inflection point. We really scaled a lot. Our first acquisition.
Sorry, what were some of the challenges in the global expansion and how you dealt with them?
Yeah, there plenty of them. It's really also a question of our specific market. Like when we started, the only brand that we really thought of as a source for these reservations was Airbnb. In the last 4 years, many other OTAs, which basically are those booking websites like Booking.com and Vrbo and Expedia and all these other ones, became much more popular, trying to bite some of that success of Airbnb. So that was a big, decision from us to diversify our portfolio as well and support much of our customers' growth there as well.
Was that more of a technological challenge or a marketing challenge, would you say?
It was more technological. Many of those platforms didn't start in the last 10 years or 15 years like Airbnb was. And therefore their technology was a lot more legacy. So it took them a lot of work to get things up and running. I think many of them are still trying to, you know, modernize their tech stack. So I think that there's a lot of technology bumps here. I think that one of my biggest learnings, by the way, is to alluding to scaling is that over the years you think you happen to learn more and more about edge cases, and your code become filled with those. And
What do you mean? Explain edge cases.
like this customer they need this format, and this customer needs to be connected this way, but this channel have this way of doing financial reporting, like these, a lot of edge cases. And for one or two, when you just running, you just like, okay, let's do it quickly, it's another week or whatever. But over the years, this thing slow you down dramatically, and you get, like, one of the things you have to implement over time is garbage collection. I think that this is not to say that these edge cases are garbage, but you need to start standardize them, or else they're really going to slow you down, because you got like thousands of them. I review now some features that we are working on, and then like the pricing, the effort estimation on them is not something I see and I shrug on, right? It's like it looks like dramatically more than I believe it should take. But when you go down to the actual details of it, you understand there's a lot of complexities that we've added over the years, and just supporting that complexity in every new feature tends to cost you a lot of effort. And that's something I really advise many of your listeners as they think of scaling up their business. Start by implementing garbage collection every year. Like every year, implement like a couple weeks where you go back and review your code and decide what sticks, what's not. Do you need to rewrite something to support your next stage of growth?
In a way, you're saying that also not all customers are created equal, in a way that you find there's a mismatch between how much you're investing.
That's easy to say, right? But because you're always gonna get that VP sales who's gonna bring you like this enterprise, and that enterprise is gonna require those specific functionality. But it's a $500,000 contract, and you definitely want that contract. But that comes with that cost, and they steal your roadmap for like a quarter or two, and then you need to support it, and your code complexity became like completely different because of it. So you really need to think about like which um, domains do you want to expertise at, and which not. And we just really rewrote our entire calendar from scratch, which, because it was like 8 years in the making, and it became so big that it was really hard to even use. So we decided to rewrite it and redesign it. It was a big project, took like 4 people or 3 people, almost like 6 months. But now it's completely revamped from scratch. It allows us the next stage of growth for this specific product. But we have like 40 something products like that. So that's like, if we need to do this, we need almost to like halt any new development for like 6 months just to clean things up. If we had done this cleanup every year, or every, like, I don't know, 6 months, potentially every team would have invested like a week or two, and now, like, not 6 months of investment.
In a way, you're saying that, I mean, a piece of what you're saying sounds to me like that product management is an ongoing process, especially when you have, in your case, and I've been to your website, you have a lot of different products. It looks very simple when you start with the website, congratulations. But as you get into it, you realize that behind that simplicity.
That's one of those things that our competitors can say the same things as us, but they don't get that complexity, right? So it looks simple from the outside. That's a marketing problem, because when you sell to someone, they don't understand the magnitude of difference between you and a cheaper competitor. It requires further explanation. Like, look at this. You see here. we support like 10 things that this competitor do not, right? So look at this one. We support like 50 different things that the competitor only support like 3. So all of these things tend to be harder to market later, because you go, as you said yourself, you go into our website and it looks okay. Like that's simple to do or simple to understand, but there's like 40 different things, and then there's each of them has like 40 different depth parameters. Um, yeah,
Let's switch topics a little bit as you go from a startup uh, to an early stage company, basically searching for product market fit. You start to get that product market fit. You get to 10 million, 20 million, 50, let's say break 100 million in good quality revenues. Your organization grows. Online, it says you have 750 people. Let's assume that's more or less accurate. Have you had to make many adjustments in the leadership of the
yeah,
company, because you're still there?
yeah. I had to change my role over a year too.
Talk about that.
Yeah. First of all, we did switch executives over the years. Sometimes due to a different, expansion that we needed to do, a different skill set, or sometimes due to complacency, like people get used to what they were doing and not really recreating themselves each year. My role, for example, tend to, like in the past, it was completely different than what I do now. I now mostly focus on outside rather than inside. I also focus a lot on the strategy execution of our plans, and I mean, sitting with my executive team and making sure that we are on track on what we want to achieve. I also am almost like the lighthouse to where we want to go, and I make sure we don't derail, because there's so many areas of derailment potential.
Can you share
Uh,
a little bit? Can you say a little bit about that personal learning of an adjustment of your own role? How did you do that? Because I think that's somewhere where a lot of founders, as they grow, they don't make those transitions.
Yeah, I think that if you don't make that transition, you get like penalized with like performance, and you get to see this in the numbers. And then you either wake up and change course, or your board wake up and change course for you. But
Did you rely on? Did you get coaching from the board? Did you just have
yeah,
your own
I guess
epiphanies? Was there an outside consultant? What? How did it's not simple to learn how to make those changes in your own
um,
behavior.
yeah, it's not. But I think that one of the things is that I surround myself with really amazing talent, and I learn from them a lot. I also um, do a lot of research my own, and I do have a coach. That coach is mostly on personal development rather than managerial. But I do think that the best way to know that you're on track, or if you're really doing what you should, is by the level of success in achieving your goals each year. If you set up to achieve something and you don't achieve it, then you need to really rethink your strategy, rethink what you're doing, rethink if your involvement is the right type of involvement, and do you have the right skill set to achieve what you set out to achieve. We don't, not to say that we always achieved our goals, but that those one of those times, so we had to wake up and decide, are we on the right path or not, or rethink our strategy, and that did happen a couple times throughout our history.
Yeah. Well, if I'm allowed to say so, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit for how much insight and maturity of a special kind that requires, because it's not so easy to just look at the results and say, well, we're not doing as well as we should be. I should be the one to change, or one of the ones to change my role. I think that requires, you don't have to comment on that. It's my own observation. I think it's very complicated psychologically.
Yeah, I don't think a lot about like patting myself in the back. I do not focus on that. I mostly focus on um, am I doing the right thing? I constantly question it, what I'm doing. and I constantly question my involvement in making sure that I contribute the most to and impact the most the path of the company to achieve its goals.
That's great. I'm sure that self-reflection probably filters down through the organization and makes it easier for other people to do the same. Let me ask you this, maybe our ending question, and this is a tough one. If you met your 12-year-old younger self today with similar ambitions, 12 years younger, not 12 years old.
12 years younger.
2013 when you're starting. And you met Amiad Soto, who's 12 years younger, with the similar ambitions. What would you tell him?
Yeah, I think that knowing what I know today, I'll probably would have be able to do what, like, to achieve what Guesty achieved in half the time. I always think that, but it's in reality it's dramatically harder. But I definitely would have encouraged them to start Guesty. I think that requires a lot of I wouldn't call it strength, but ambition and it's courage too. I think that founders normally get to be credited with how hard it is to start companies and kick things off. I think that if I gave them credit, I would definitely tell him to surround himself with the best talent he can and focus on that alone. I think that over the years we couldn't really afford the best talent, so we always made like, let's get whoever we can, put them in the seat, and let's just run. This rocket is really, going places, and we don't have time. But anytime that we didn't have the right person in the right seat, it slowed us down tremendously. So I think that that's something that I would not make concessions on.
Well, it's interesting. You used a word. You said it quietly, and you said you only getting the best talent. That's very important. That's very profound, I think.
Yeah, like knowing what the right talent that I should have had is something that you need experience for, right? So as a inexperienced founder, I think that that's one of those things that I don't necessarily knew the right skills I had to. Like, I couldn't really deliver or make the decision who do I need to hire at that point, or even recognize good talent from amazing talent. Nowadays, I think that I do have that capacity to understand, okay, this is what I need. This is the right person. And I still get sometimes people that I still interview people in the company, but only from director and above. And I still meet some people that everyone thought like, oh, they're going to be amazing. And I was like, I didn't see why. So I think that me on the captain chair, I still think that I still change the course of the company through the decisions on recruiting that I'm still doing.
Well, that's wonderful. Amiad Soto, co-founder and CEO of the amazing Guesty. I know you've got to go off and continue running your company, which is growing like crazy. So I want to thank you for participating in this podcast and sharing your really candid insights.
Thank you so much, Dan.